Hi Flosstube, it's Karen, recovering monogamous stitcher. Today is Friday, January 3rd, 2025, my first video of the new year. Thank you for stopping by. This is my Flosstube number 61. So that's the first one of 2025. The numbers have just been flying by, have to say. And I'm so happy to have you back. If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. I'm glad to know that you like what you see and you're happy to be back. And if you're new here, you're very welcome. I hope you'll be happy to join my virtual stitching family, and feel free to make comments, and I try to always answer the comments, and I'd love to get a conversation going with you. So welcome. Well, it's the new year. We're past the holidays. For last year, or past those holidays. It was very quiet around here. We didn't travel out of state, so, and our family is all out of state. So it was just a quiet day. Both days were quiet. The focus was making the food. I guess that was it. So, okay, let's get on to talking about stitching. So what have I done in the past 2 weeks? I had one snow day stitch. I had 4 finishes. We'll get to those. Very exciting. I've been making plans for 2025. We'll look at my stitching that I did in the last 2 weeks. I have a tiny amount of haul. We'll look at the quilts. There's one on the wall behind me we'll talk about briefly, and then we'll take a little walk over to the long arm and see what's on the long arm, the vice versa that was on my wall for several weeks, or several videos before. So let's get going. I'm going to start with a review of 2024. I felt like I got a lot done in 2024. It felt really good, and I did some rethinking and let me go down my list. I had, in my book of days, I had 12 whips, 12 whips that carried over from 2023. All of them are finished except one, and that's Ann Borrett. So I accomplished a lot from 2023, and we'll talk about Ann Borrett again in a minute. I had 27 finishes in 2024, and 4 of them were within the last 2 weeks. So we'll talk about those. Let's see, this is my finishes. Okay, and of those 27 finishes in 2024, 22 of them were fully finished as of this point. So I feel good. I don't have a lot laying around, lingering, waiting to be finished. What is not yet finished is the Forget-Me-Not box, and I talked about that last time too. I finished the stitching on Forget-Me-Not, the modern folk embroidery, and plan to finish it as Katie Strachan did on the wooden box. And I've not done that yet. So that's one that's hanging out there. And then the others that are not fully finished are the 4 finishes that I did in December. In fact, within the last 2 weeks since we met last time. I attended 2 retreats in 2024. I went to Queen City Sampler Guild retreat with Nicola Parkman in May. And I attended the first annual ranch retreat in Litchfield, Kentucky in September. And that was with, the Queen City one was with Nicola Parkman, if I didn't say that. And the ranch retreat was with Lucy Beam, Rebecca Nolan. And I'm planning to attend that one, the second annual. I reorganized my DMC floss, and I showed you all about that, and got boxes and got them all organized. And that system so far seems to be working well for me, so I'm happy with that. Felt good to know when I finished a project exactly where those threads were going to go, whether they were on drops or on bobbins, or if I had a full skeins left, I knew exactly where they were going. That worked really well. Also during 2024, I reorganized my linens and Ada. And I showed you the boxes, the sorting boxes that I had for those, and I had the dividers for each of the counts. And then at the back, and I wrapped them all on comic book board, acid-free, of course, archival. And in the back of each section, I have whatever pieces are small pieces, scraps, portions of a fat quarter left over. Some may be big enough for a small or an ornament or something, but I know exactly where they are, and I can put my hand on, did I say foot? I can put my hand on them by count. So I'm really happy with that. That's working well for me so far. But as you know, if you've done organizing, you start with an organizational system and it works well, and then you accumulate more stuff and the system no longer works. Like with my long arm threads, I started with a rolling plastic, you've seen those with several drawers in them, and my threads, when I started out, they all stood up nicely in the drawer and I could see every single one I had, and then I started getting more colors, more, and so they're all on top of each other. It's a mess. So that's something else I have to look at doing something about in the coming year. Okay, my plans for 2025. I have 3 retreats scheduled. Very much looking forward to them. Sampler Symposium is the first one up. That'll be in January. That's at the Attic. I'm going to the Useful Work Retreat at Hobby House in August. I'll be going to the 2nd annual Ranch Retreat in Litchfield, Kentucky. And then in the spring, Mr. Enabler and I do have a cruise scheduled, a couple-week cruise, so it's going to be a busy year. And I feel like I've scheduled all the retreats I'm going to for 2025. I'm set there. So that's that. Also coming up in 2025, I'm planning to film some tutorials. There have been questions in the comment section. People have asked, questions about using the circle cutter. I'll do a tutorial on that, about how I make project bags. I'll do a tutorial on that. Mitering corners and all that kind of stuff. So, and now that with my new camera and my pause button, I think I'll be able to do an okay tutorial. I don't know how to edit, so it'll be, I'll just do pauses and I think I can make it work. So I will plan to do some tutorials. I might need to come up with a better system for storing my over-dyed cotton flosses. Like I did my DMC, and I am using the system that Vanna Pfeiffer has, where they're hanging, on hanging file folders where she has cut and put rings in and they hang. She has a separate box for each manufacturer. I don't, because I didn't have that many. Well, now that I'm into thread clubs, I'm beginning to accumulate an amount where it would be more useful to me if I get them sorted separately. But I don't have many gentle arts other than what's absolutely called for in a pattern, whereas I have the Weeks Dye Works and the Classic Color Works coming every month. So I'm accumulating quite a few of those. So I have to think about that. How am I going to make that system work more efficiently for me? Because I don't want my threads to be a jumbled mess. Some of the letters of the alphabet have 3 or 4 of the separate hanging files in that letter. So it's getting a bit crowded. And moving forward, I'm making an alteration in the way I do focus piece. If you've been following me for a while, you know that I have had a focus piece, always my oldest whip, and I require myself to stitch on it 7 days in a month, whether it's in a row or scattered around, doesn't matter, but 7 days in a month to keep working on that oldest whip, and it remains my focus piece until it's done. Well, now Ann Borrett is my oldest whip, and therefore would be my focus piece. Except in December, I spent 2 days in total frustration trying to work on that. And if I continue with Ann Borrett as my focus piece, my whole focus piece system is going to come to a dead stop, because I need more help on that than what I can get just from reading the books. There's some people I can contact, I think, who can give me some help. So what I'm going to do is put Ann Borrett aside in her own special little category, and she will be one that I will work on when I can get help from more experienced stitchers. And then I'm going to move on to my next oldest whip. So the Smith sampler has now become my focus piece, and I will continue moving through my oldest whips in that way. I just have to do it, otherwise I'm going to come to a stop and be, anyway, not only frustrated, but I won't make any progress on those pieces I want to get finished and off my list. So that's that. So I've reviewed 2024. I'm planning ahead for 2025. Now let's look at what I've done in the past 2 weeks. Okay, I had one snow day stitch, and it was my 4th snow day stitch. It's Jolly Happy Soul by Brenda Gervais, and this is one that I won in a Colorado cross stitcher drawing for participating in her stitch camp. So this is 4 stitchy days, and today might be another snow day. I'll see. Mr. Enablers went out earlier and said he saw snow coming down. Well, I didn't see it, and I don't see it now. So anyway, if it snows, I'll have a 5th snow day. So this is Frosty, and I'm using all of the called for over-dyed cotton flosses. I love this fabric. I've talked about this before. It's called an opalescent, and it is beautiful. It sparkles. It's beautiful. So that's my snow day stitch. That was 1 day of stitching. Okay, Anna Ohman. I always have a red sampler on the go, and I do 3 days a month on the red sampler. Anna Ohman was my previous red sampler, and she is now finished. Ta-da! Now, she looks okay. And I'm just moving on. I had several problems on this one, but she's finished. She looks okay. I still am going to initial it and put my date. I don't want to go here, initial and date down here. But otherwise, she's ready to go to the framer. So that'll happen soon. That's Anna Ohman from Lila's Studio. Anna Ohman is stitched on 40 count champagne linen from Wichelt, and the thread is used brick from Classic Colorworks. And since she's finished, she has graduated out of a project bag, so she's not in one. The next finish I had Gourdon Squashbottom, the Reverend Gourdon Squashbottom from Not Forgotten Farm. Love this guy. Here he is finished. Isn't he cute? Oh, love this. Not Forgotten Farm. The Rev is stitched on a 36 count bronze age, and that was from BestitchMe, and it was part of my 2021 Fabric of the Month Club. I don't know if it's generally available, but it is a beautiful fabric. Just enough of that brown color and modeling, and it's beautiful. Now, Reverend Gourdon Squashbottom has a companion piece called Prunella. I don't think it's Prudence. I think it's Prunella Squashbottom. And look, I have enough fabric left. I can do her on the same fabric. And I've been thinking that I won't have him framed. I'm thinking I will make this a flat fold. Since it's seasonal, it'll only be out part of the year, and flat folds store so nicely, so easily. I just don't think I'll do a frame. And so also I'm thinking maybe I should wait until I make sure I have enough fabric to finish 2 of this size, so Prunella and Gourdon will match, and finish them both as flat folds. So I'll be on a search for some fabric, and on a search for that pattern. 1, 2, 3 Stitch doesn't have it, so I'll find it someplace. So there's the Reverend Gourdon Squashbottom. Love him. Another finish I had this month, Yellow Submarine from Blackbird Designs. For me, this is the last in the series of the Magical Mystery Tour series. I have completed all of the others and fully finished them. This is number 6, for me, number 6. I don't remember what the number is in the series, but here's Yellow Submarine. I stitched Yellow Submarine on, the fabric is called Through the Stones from BestitchMe, again, the 2021 Fabric of the Month Club. I love this color. I just love this color. And when I was going to be starting Festive Forest, I was trying to figure out if I could possibly fit it on this, because I have it. I have more back here. But I was afraid that those points might come up too far, and so I didn't, but I love this fabric. So there's Yellow Submarine. I think it's going to be framed because several of the other ones are framed. So this and Anna Ohman will go to the framer together and get done. But again, I still have to get my initials and the year on it. I have to be more prudent about doing that every time so that it's marked. Yellow Submarine, Blackbird Designs. Another one I finished, Shelter Sampler from Lucy Beam, and this was the piece, the project piece that we were given at the Ranch Retreat in Litchfield, Kentucky. It's a beautiful little fall themed sampler. I love it. And I finished it. Now, I tried to get it finished in 2024, but I just couldn't quite get it done, so it was finished on New Year's Day. So, she's my first finish of the new year, technically, but I'm still going to date it 2024 because, you know, 98% of it was done in 2024. So, it's beautiful. I love it. And I have the frame for it. When we were at the retreat, Rebecca had it displayed in a frame. It was a beautiful frame. I was sure it was a custom frame. But she said, no, it was right off the shelf at Hobby Lobby. It's an 8x10. I'll show you the brace here. I think I got it on sale anyway. But look at that pattern. You see the gold highlights there? Nice little family picture. Anyway, so I have the frame. That will get finished after I initial and date that piece. So Smith Sampler is now my focus. So I am going to be doing 7 days on Smith Sampler this month, and I have done 1 day so far this month. This is from the Scarlett house. I am stitching Smith Sampler on 40 count cottage stone from Color and Cotton. Here's my progress. Getting close to halfway. There's little, you know, there's a section at least that big here, and then there's another little something, so it's not quite halfway. In my day of stitching, I filled in these. I think I had some of the green done, the bones of it, and I filled that in and then started across here. I'll come back and do that. So anyway, so I have 6 more days on the Smith Sampler. Okay, I started to say I'm stitching this on 40 count cottage stone from Color and Cotton, and I'm using the Vicki Clayton silk conversion for this. I'm loving it. I love it, love it, love it. And yes, I did Smith in the bowl. I have no connection to Smith, but it's a reproduction sampler, so I'm doing it that way. Some of you have come up with some beautiful designs to put in that basket and not put in Smith, but I'm sticking with Smith because that's the way I roll. That's the Smith Sampler. And that was my birthday start in 2024, and I keep it in my Stitch Folk birthday bag, the birthday girl. And I've shown you before for the Vicki Clayton silks, I have this plastic box that my friend Wendy introduced me to through Amazon, and I've put the link in videos before. So that's Smith Sampler. Okay, let's see, Smith Sampler, and I had a January 1st new start. Martha Miller, 1858. This is from Running with Needles and Scissors, Sylvia Steckler. And the Queen City Sampler Guild, many of us are doing this as a stitch along in 2025. And Sylvia has divided it into, let me just quickly show you, 9 equal sections. So it's, you know, approximately 80 stitches by 80 stitches each time. And I chose my starting place, and I'm doing it the way I read, left to right, top to bottom. So that's the way I am doing it, and I've labeled it that way. So I had 1 day, just New Year's Day, and I've started that border. I've gotten the border done on January's section and finished a motif back into the next section over and below. So it's a nice little start, and I'll spend some more time, get that assignment stitched. And this, if all goes according to plan, will get finished in September. So that'll be great not to have a long one hanging out there. Okay. And this one lives in a bag, a bag I made for myself using Blackbird Designs fabrics. Okay. Okay, that's my stitching. Let me show you a little bit about my planning ahead for Book of Days. So I've shown you the 2024 many times, and so this one is finished, and I've set up my new one, and I took it to I almost said Home Depot, Office Depot, and had plastic cover and spiral binding, and they put plastic back on it, of course, and I had 6 pages added to it. And this time I have some regular tabs to show my special pages, and I use a clip to keep it to the current month, and I've just started it. And you can see my plans for this month. Focus piece, Ann Borick crossed out Smith sampler. And this is my red sampler, and it is going to be a Stitch in Time Saves 9. That's a Hands Across the Sea sampler, and when I get started on that, I'll be showing that. And then I'm doing the Martha Miller Sal with Queen City Stitch Guild. So those are my plans for this month. And I have also made a little plan for my next new starts that are not samplers, because I'm going to retreats. I know at each of the retreats I'll be getting samplers, so I'll have plenty of new samplers to start, no problem. But when I have an opening to do a non-sampler start, I've prioritized 3 that I want to do first. The first one is Mary Amelia's Bird. I want to do that on perforated paper. There is a category at the State Fair for stitching on perforated paper, and I've never done that before. And I've shown you the paper I have and the inks and things. I haven't done it yet, but I will get that ready, and Mary Amelia's Bird will be my next non-sampler start. And then Casting a Spell. I'm going to show you when I show you my teeny tiny little haul. I have the fabric for it now, and of course I showed you in 2024 the box I've painted. It's all ready to go for the finishing, so that'll be the second one that I would start. That's a non-sampler. And then the third non-sampler I'm going to start is Brenda Gervais When Flowers Bloom, because when I was doing all that painting, I also painted the tray. My tray is ready. I have my the board, my mat board all cut for it. So that'll be the third non-sampler start for 2025. And then at the back, I've put the tabs, as I've done before, for whips. Here are my whips. I didn't number them. I should have numbered them. But Ann Borick is coming from 2023. All the rest are 2024. And I finished the shelter sampler. So that's how I mark them. And I keep track of them. Keep it in my mind, get those done, don't let them linger. And then I have finishes, and of course the sampler, shelter sampler is there already. So as I finish things, whether they were on my whips list or not, or whether they were new starts, all my finishes get listed here. That's how in my previous book, that's how I knew how many finishes I had for the year, because my finishes are always listed. Some of you count new starts. I don't count new starts, because as soon as I have a new start, it becomes a whip. So I don't do that, but you could certainly have a page for that. And then I have a section for retreats. And as I go, I'll have room for pictures. I have a sprocket printer, so I'll print pictures of people I meet and the retreats, and I have several pages for that. So those are the special sections I put in my book of days. So it's set, organized. Oh, let me show you the solid black cover, back cover. So it's all set for 2025. That's the way I organize mine. And looking ahead to 2025 also, my system of recording in these little stitch books that I get from Fat Quarter Shop, that system still works for me. I did add numbers to the fronts of these because I'm now in book number 5, and they hold 50 projects each. Now, I'm sorry, of course I lick my fingers. Book number 4, I'm still working with, because there are things in here that I have not finished. And I've told you before that when I finish something, I put the finish date on it. So all I have to do to find out my oldest whip is go down the list and see what's the first one that does not have a finish date. You can see here, Ann Borick is the first one without a finish date. And then there's Smith Sampler, no finish date. and on it goes. I think, was it and got, yeah, and got, etc. That's how I do it. So I'm still using this book until I get these finished. But I have moved on to book number 5, and I have my new pieces that I've started since I started book number 5 in here. Turn pages here. Martha Miller was number 5 in my new book. So that's how I keep track. That works for me, and I'm not going to change that. So that's that. And I shared this with you, Stitcher's Almanac, and it's similar to Book of Days, but it has some other features that I'm going to be using. In fact, I have used. One that I showed you, that I have marked here, is a progress report. You list your whips, and you mark the % that it's done. So when I got frustrated with Ann Bort and decided, okay, I'm moving on from this. I can't be frustrated every day. I looked at my list of whips in here and said, now what can I get done quickly before the end of the year? And I got 4 of them done. Well, except she was finished on New Year's Day, but essentially I got 4 things done in December because I could see what's close to being done. Let me jump to that and get it done and off my list. So that felt good. So I'm going to continue using this, and I've continued up here. I've got Martha Miller put in here, and of course I'm estimating. I don't use a system where I'm counting stitches. I know a lot of you have programs that do that for you, that, you know, you may find that very useful, but this was just really fun to use, frankly. I wouldn't have done that had I not had that. And I'm going to use this ledger for what I spend. May not be a good idea, but I'm going to do that starting this year. But since it's a fresh year, fresh month, I'll do that. Okay, teeny tiny little bit of haul here. Sherry Colorado Cross Stitcher has 2 freebies that she just put up, wintry freebies. One is called Snowman Stitchery, the house, and Cocoa Cottage. Let me hold this back. If you're interested in those, go to coloradocrossstitcher.com, and she has freebies on her website. Very generous of her. And as I told you, I got my 30 count was the critical thing on the fabric for casting a spell, because the pieces have to finish to the size that will then fit in that box that I've already finished. So I had to have 30 count, and it took me a while to find it, and then I had to wait for them to have the small cut. Oh, they could sell me a half yard or a yard. Well, no, I'll just take a little bit. So anyway, I have my fat quarter of that. That's my haul. So now I'm going to talk about the quilt on the wall behind me, and then we'll take a little walk over to the vice versa that's on the long arm. And okay, right to the quilt. Okay, this quilt does not have a name. It was a mystery block of the month from a blog, and I did not even label on the back of the quilt what the name of the blog was, where I got all of these patterns from. They came every month, as I said. I did this version in a Christmas colorway, and I had this hanging at the top of the stairs over the railing for the season, and I just took it down and thought I would just give it a short stop on the design wall before I put it back in the closet. And so and as I said, I can't remember what the blog was, but she had other bloggers design blocks. How many are there? There are 12? I don't know. I didn't count them. 3, 6, 9, and 4, 13. There were 13 blocks, so must have taken over a year. So I just pulled out all my Christmas fabrics, and each month used those, and then used scrap pieces around the border. This was quilted on my domestic machine, which is, part of the reason I discovered I need a long arm. I cannot do this. Oops, I'm sorry. I cannot do this on a domestic machine. I can't coordinate my foot speed and my hand speed. And so it was just kind of overall loops and things. I watched a lot of Walters. Not Michelle Walters. You know what I mean. She does lots of quilting for Tula Pink, and she showed lots of lots of examples of stitching on a domestic machine, which wasn't for me. But anyway, that's a cute little look at a little Christmas quilt. Okay, now we're going to go over to the long arm. Okay, this is going to be a little hard to show. I've rolled it up to the top, so you can see across the top row. I hope you can. The bars are really in the way here. I showed you the way I laid out what I planned to do. Just move on across here. And then here's some of the blocks I did in the solid diagonal border. All different. And I decided to just let all the quilting run right off the edge of the quilt, and the binding will just be the end of it. I was going to originally do piano key border, which you know I love piano key border, but it was mathematically just too difficult and not worth doing it. That little pink piece of fabric there is where I tested my tension, and I have scrap pieces of batting and scrap fabric, and every time I change a bobbin I check my tension. Okay, I'm going to pause this and roll it so you can see some more. Okay, I had to put the camera down because I had to manually roll my quilt. I don't have any auto advance or any computerized features on my machine. It's all manual. I love this little design. It's easy and it's so effective. I love that. Over here at this side, I think I'm pointing at it. I think you can see I've put some registration marks in there. I'm just getting started on that, ready to start quilting that. And this is the design. It's going to be 4 blocks. This is how the center will be finished, but it'll be subdivided here with more of this. So that'll go that way around and this way around. So this is the vice versa quilt. I'm almost halfway through with it. Anyway, I'll give you another look another time. Okay, now if I can turn this around without touching a button. Okay, so I will be back on January 15th because I will be leaving for Sampler Symposium on the 16th. So on the Wednesday the 15th, I'll give a little update on what I've been stitching and what I've been quilting, and then I'll be off to Sampler Symposium. So have happy stitching, my Flosstube friends, and I'll see you in a couple weeks, or not, less than a couple weeks. Okay, bye-bye.